Muslim. That's why her answers were very wonky, you know, because she herself sounds Muslim, and
I think she's Indian, actually.
Huh?
I think she's Indian. I don't think she's Muslim. I think she's Indian. I think that's an Indian name from India.
No, but she looks Middle Eastern. Really, she's Indian?
I thought she was
because
Indian.
her skin is pretty like on the white side. She looks more Middle Eastern to me. She looks like kind of like Turkish, you know. But she did. But you know, like Congressman, Chairwoman, you know, Fox. I love that old lady. I mean, she's so sharp.
She is very, very sharp.
Yeah, and she's.
Do you know what state she's from?
I know she's from West Virginia. Yeah. Is it? No, South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Fuck. South Carolina, yeah. South Carolina. I was like, who is this woman?
I just wish we had better representatives that are more like her, you know?
Yeah. No,
you know, smart, but, you know, down to earth and just using common sense.
Yeah, and she's very, she's talking like a grandma, but with a very sharp sword, you know, like.
Right.
Like you see her, she's always kind of like smile. What is that, smirking or something?
Right.
But then they were terrified of her, like, you know. Like I saw her opening question that she made the point that, oh, you send out the warning letters, but they're not scared, you know. And she's like, and the Colombia president, she's like she kept twisting herself, you know. She's like, and I told Chloe about it. I showed some clips of her, and like she's like constantly playing with her pen when she's like, I said it's like, you know how robotic, you know how robots went like short circuit, you know, like, and she kept like, you know, like I was like, oh, I told Chloe exactly the same thing. I said, Chloe, look, all these presidents are all women, and now they're all in trouble because they can't handle the situation. They're gonna look
it's
down
the affirmative
women.
action and DEI. I mean,
yeah.
You know, they're dying on the sword. They're dying on the sword.
Yeah, and actually, I didn't see the video, but I saw Alan Dershowitz. He came out and say that DEI is where anti-Semitism came from, you know. And I was kind of like, I wouldn't say shocked, but I was like, yeah, you know, it has a lot of truth to it. You know,
I think I didn't see that episode of Alan Dershowitz's show, but you know, he's been saying the same thing on many shows.
No, it was.
But I think the point that he's making is that DEI is really, when you boil it all down, it's about the haves and the have-nots, the oppressors and the oppressed. And that there's a socialism that is starting to boil up in these universities because of these socialistic professors, where the student body is always looking for a scapegoat. They're always trying to put themselves as the oppressed, and then there's the oppressors. Yeah. Now, what is interesting with all these universities, and I remember seeing this when I was at the Yale game back in 2019. This is right before COVID, because the Yale game is in November. So this is the famous game between Harvard and Yale.
Yeah.
And students ran the field during halftime, you know, complaining about divesting in fossil fuels for the portfolio of Harvard. Now, my take on this is this. If the university students do not like how these elite universities like Harvard and Yale are spending their money, then they shouldn't just go. They shouldn't go to the university. If they don't believe in how the university acted in the past, or if they don't like in how they are investing in their endowment, then why should you? Why do they feel as though they want the benefits of the university, but then they want to have some sort of say in how the university spends its money? And I just think that that's just wrong. I think the student, if you think that the university isn't aligned with your values, then don't go to the university. But you shouldn't be changing the university to the demands of the student.
Which is really what these universities is about. They're Ivy League. You go there to become elite. You don't go there to become like state university, you know. They are private university, they're elite, and if you don't understand.
Well, the problem is, I agree with you.
You know, and that's the whole point of the Ivy League and the mysterious, you know, of the elite, you know, and that's what lures all these people who want to go there, like you know, Chinese students study really hard, this and that, and good, you know, and they want to go to, you know, Harvard, and they got accepted into Harvard and whatnot, you know, because they want to become elite. You want to become the upper echelon of the society, like all the brilliant girls, all the brilliant families, you know. That's all they wanted to do, and they all come from. They are all already that part of the society, and basically that part of society right now, the middle upper class, or the, you know, it's really the middle upper class that's been suffering. The upper class is like far away somewhere in the universe, and nobody can touch them, right? Like the Rothschild, whatnot. But they're attacking the middle upper class, like the families in Burley, you know, and telling them that basically, you know, you're the oppressor because you're the elite, because just because you have more money, you're the oppressor, you know. And why is Jewish people are being targeted? Because most Jewish people are, you know, are successful and also belong to more of the middle upper class and whatnot. But there are also poor Jewish people. I met some Jewish people that are just like, you know, like okay, you know, not like you, or you know, or Yale or Harvard or whatnot, but you know, to be really honest about it, you know, actually, I know that Harvard, you know, because of the investigation, have revealed that they have been accepting less and less Jewish students, you know. And Yale, when I went to the Yale club, you know, I don't feel any sense of Jewishness. It's very Christian. It's Christian,
definitely, I would say
Protestant.
Yale does feel, WASP-ish, you know, white Anglo-Saxon.
Yeah.
Protestant kind of thing. You know, you don't see too many Asians there either. You'll see more
And
Asians that are part of the Harvard Club than you see in the Yale Club. No, I don't know, you know, but I don't know about Penn Club. I'm not sure, but I would say Harvard definitely is going to be different with this new SAT, ACT requirement for the college.
Yeah, that's going to bring them back up.
And probably is going to be less blacks.
Oh, yeah,
in the university.
that's for sure.
And probably more Asians in the university. That's probably how it's going to play out. Right, I wouldn't be surprised. You know, the thing that drives me nuts about these universities is that you got you have these students that are whining about how the university is investing, right? Mm-hmm. And they're whining about on, you know, how certain ailments of society are happening. Let's say, for example, the Palestinian and Israeli fighting that's going on for years, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, these students, they're protesting, but no one's stopping them to do this off campus. It's their right to have freedom of speech off campus. But when it's inhibiting other students from going to class, or they're disrupting classes,
I'm going to give you the answer now.
I'm not so sure that these universities, that these students have the right for freedom of speech. To organize on campus like this. I just don't think that's the realm of where they should be talking. The realm where they should be talking should be in a public setting.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now. This is all a facade. What's really going on is there's a cultural revolution going on in all the Ivy League universities right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, mm-hmm. and the Chinese scholars, they have a channel. They live in New York. A lot of the Chinese scholars, they escape, and they're they're very good. Their commentaries are very sharp because they have the communist background. They can see, when there's a communism, sprouting, so they have very sharp points, and they're basically saying that this is the replica of cultural revolution. And also, if you notice, if you look at some of the protesters, a lot of them were Chinese students. And those people, I am sure, 100% sure, that they have ties to the Chinese Cultural Revolution, because this is exactly. Do you know how to do a rally? Do you know how to you know how rallies? If you don't know how to rally, it will collapse so easily. There's a techniques, there's strategies on how to do rallies and protests and whatnot. Otherwise, your group would just disperse very easily, So the fanning of the crowd, what to chant, they're all techniques to that. I said, to know how to organize a rally and all that is very powerful. Not a lot of people.
Well, this is the reason why.
Yeah.
This is the reason why I think that organized protesting on campuses at the elite universities or even at the state schools shouldn't be happening. Because it can get out of control. They can discuss, certain policies that are related to a class rubric, or but it gets. I don't think that these students should be able to organize on campus. The university should shut it down.
It's going to be a replica of what you see in Three Body in the first scene, where presidents and professors are being criticized, and they had to bow their heads. I'm sure they were saying. I remember during is it the Harvard University or one of the earlier ones? They were saying that some of the professors were kind of bowed down because they were afraid. It's not really like they're supporting them or anything. It was more like the pressure that they felt from other professors. So there's in the Cottrell, they're basically saying that you're the elitist, you're the oppressor, and therefore you should be criticized. And all those students, Jewish students, it's using the Jewish people in the name of some sort of social justice to achieve this kind of social basically disruption.
I just don't think the students really believe in what they're saying, because the moment you tell them that they're going to be blacklisted from certain types of jobs. They're not going to get into, let's say banking.
Yeah, that's what Harvard.
They'll back off. The students will back off. So therefore, they're really not. What it seems to me is that they're infiltrated by an outside force, some outside organization.
Definitely.
The students get sucked into it, and they start to protest, and some of them believe what they're saying, some of them don't. But they still want the benefits of an Ivy League education post-graduation, And once you say, you know what, the things that you're saying against the country or against certain people are going to prevent you from getting a good job, most of them will back off. So that's where people need to stop it. You know, people that are hiring these students either as interns or entry level positions. They just they see their resume and it says Columbia, Harvard, or Yale, and they're coming from the colleges. You know what? They should just say no. We're not going to hire people from them.
Yeah, but see, not all companies are doing that. I know some of the companies are like Google. I think they kicked out like 28 employees. And if you look at the 28 employees, right, some of them are Chinese, you know. Look, those students are being used. They're getting duped into this thing, and they get rallied up. You know, these organizers are experts. They must have learned, from somewhere how to route. So they make a huge, and these students are getting looped in. They're basically just being used just like the Red Guards as a political pawn, and to look into deeper, I can tell you that some of these organizers are competing with each other. They want to make a name for themselves. So let's say, the one at Harvard died down. It no longer is, because of the repercussions of what's going to happen to them. But the ones at Yale, the ones at Columbia and NYU, they're almost like competing. Like, who is worse? Who can make this worse? I mean.
What's strange is I'm not so, I know that these outside organizations that are coordinating this, with these different universities at the same time, they want to demonize Jews, promote Hamas and, the Palestinian cause and all this, all right?
That's just
but they are also literally destroying the legacy of these universities in the process. I mean, I'll tell you, I think that the public at large will view Harvard, Yale, Columbia, even NYU as universities that you do not want to hire these new grads from. So there's going to be probably a 4-year fallout in entry-level jobs for these students where they're not going to be getting the top tier jobs that they used to get.
Yeah, and I was analyzing, first of all, all these protests. Have you noticed all these protests are happening to schools of humanities? Like, MIT had problem, but not as bad as the others. So is Princeton. Princeton is a science school. They don't really have rallies, and also most of these protests are very close to big cities. Like the reason why Columbia and NYU, so because they can garner the sheer number of people from New York City. So is Boston, because Boston also has a lot of people live there.
That's a good point you're making. That's a great point.
I'm sorry?
And that's a good point you're making, because that proves that these crowds aren't just the student body crowd. It's also, the larger population.
Right. Now, Yale is a little kind of exception, but the problem is Yale is also humanities. I said, look at MIT, they don't have that anymore. Princeton as well. So it's also very bothered by all this phenomenon. What's going on? I said, I feel bad for the graduates, for the students, high schoolers who graduate and then go into these universities. How are these universities going to pick themselves up? And also, there's a very weird phenomenon. Just like you said, all these presidents are women. Why are these things happening, while all the universities are women?
One way to describe
it's so weird,
Well, I think
coincidence.
Well, this is how I would say it's either one of two reasons. Reason number one, which I think is the more probable reason.
Yeah.
These women that are running these universities were brought up into the university under affirmative action, and they're not very good leaders. They aren't the best.
Right.
Or there's actually a targeted agenda to take down these leaders.
Right.
It's almost like socialism feeding on itself. They're trying to take down these women.
Right.
You know, to just create chaos.
Right.
Or
yeah.
You know, or they're not thinking ahead. These protesters aren't thinking ahead, and it's just an emergent behavior that's destroying the leadership at these universities.
You know what happened to those leaders for the Cultural Revolution, you know, during the Red Guards during the 1960s. So Cultural Revolution basically ended around 1970, 1971. And soon after that, you know, 4 people were arrested and executed very soon because now they were going back to blame these 4 people who started the Cultural Revolution as some sort of a criminal. So it backfired on them because they lost the political fight, basically. And in the end, actually, if you look at the Cultural Revolution, it's like, oh my God, it's like, wow, you know, it's like all the shit and blood that's going on. But in their eyes during that time, it was very, very successful. You know, it was very powerful. And because they got the power of the youth, of the students. Because in communism, youth and the students is the future of the whatever it is, and they consider the youth and the students, you know, the most powerful weapons of communism. You know, because you know they are stupid. But then they have the force. So what in the end? But in the end, they got big backfire. Those people were arrested within like a few months after the end of the Cultural Revolution, and then they also declare that Cultural Revolution was wrong, was a mistake. Because it went too far. It just went fucking too far.
Well, it's very similar to what happened in the United States during the McCarthy era, where, you know, it was the Red Scare, where at first they were trying to, you know, find spies that were Russian, communist spies, and then, you know, eventually there were people that were innocent being judged as spies. So these things, something similar happened in the 50s in the United States. But I think you're right that something similar is happening today.
Right. Yeah, these women who support DEI, all those people, you know, and these women who, like you said, I believe they were picked on. I believe they were specifically chosen, just like Claudine Gay, who has, you know, absolutely no merit to be the president of Harvard, was picked to be in that position. And now they are facing the repercussions of all these, you know, phenomena, you know, brought out. This is DEI. This whole thing goes back to DEI. Why is this happening and all that, you know? And then because of the oppressor and the oppressed, you know, this is a new name of the Cultural Revolution, you know, and then these women were put in this position and they don't fucking know how to deal with it because they never ever thought in their career that this would ever happen, you know, and a lot of people are confused. They thought Hamas.
Well, they didn't think the monster would come after them. They didn't think the monster would come after them. They unleashed a monster thinking that it would go after who they're against, but they didn't realize that it would come back to haunt them.
Right. And I remember last week the police went into Columbia University to arrest the students, right? And they dispersed the encampment. Mm-hmm. But then the encampment came back, and I shouldn't go to Columbia because apparently it's also a test for the universities. Like in a time of this kind of social unrest, how well you navigate your university out of this. It looks like most of them are doing a very bad job, but Columbia is going to be notorious. Columbia is going to go down in history. I think Harvard kind of got off the hook. Hopefully, and
I personally think, from even the university reaching out to the alumni for different events and stuff, I have a feeling that they're trying to do damage control. And I think that this damage control is going to be over a 2 to 3 year period. So, anyone that's graduating this year, next year, or the year after, I think it's going to have a problem getting really good jobs that they're coming from the Ivy League. After that, as long as these protests die down, then I think they'll go back. It'll revert back to normal.
I'm thinking for a high schooler who is very smart, who can see through all this, facade and like you see through the problem, and smart enough to link all these problems together, who is now woke, but anyway, can see through all this, right? The really smart ones are not going to go to these schools anymore, They're not going to get the best students, the brightest ones that can see through it. They're only going to get the walk ones, the ones that's like zombie, who can't really think on their own, and just following other people, whatever other people are saying. That's what's happening with.
Well, perhaps the elite institutions, they've reached their zenith moment and they're now in decline. And it's not a short-term decline. Perhaps this is a long-term decline that may be over a 50, 60-year period. We may be actually seeing the sunset of Harvard, Yale, Columbia, and the other Ivy League institutions.
Well, I think bring back SAT would be one way to deal with the problem. Because then you automatically get rid of all these DEI students who are really not supposed to be there, and then you got these students who have really radical ideas.
Yeah, but the question I have is for the ones that are doing really well on the SAT.
Yeah.
How, versus the ones that don't do well, what's the percentage of woke students? Do you have it about equal? Is it more on the lower end of the SAT scale? At the higher end of the SAT scale? I don't know. My gut feeling, without seeing the data, my gut feeling is a higher SAT score would basically mean the student doesn't have time to be brainwashed with wokeism, so they're agnostic. They don't really have an opinion.
Right.
So, there might be over time less wokeism in the school, but I just don't know. This is just a gut feeling that I have. But I agree with you that there's a lot of students that are going in that probably are not they shouldn't be there, and they're going into majors that are easier majors to pass. Like
that's
gender,
true.
Gender studies and that kind of thing.
Yeah, especially if humanity now is having a comeback, it's having like a spring, because of DEI, because all the diversity and whatnot, it's giving a boost to a lot of humanity, majors and courses like, social studies or what, whatever you call it. I don't know, those major like humanities majors that. Used to be totally like waste of time, but now they're having a spring because of DEI, because everybody have to hire a DEI. I've heard from somewhere that a lot of companies are getting rid of DEI like department.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true?
No, they are. No, that's in the news. Wow. That's in the business news, because they're getting fed up. They're getting fed up with the cost.
and also it really destroyed the dynamic at work. I mean, I've talked to people and they're saying like they're afraid to talk to female colleagues.
Well, when I was at Catholic Charities near the end, this was probably 2017. They started bringing in, the HR group started bringing in consultants to do these management training seminars. So, because I was a manager for a department.
Yeah.
So, business planning was my department. So, so I had to attend this. What I found, it was the beginnings of this. We didn't use the word DEI. All right, they didn't use the word DEI, but it was a very it was kind of like teaching people that are older, either Gen X or baby boomers, the issues that you will have to deal with, with the Gen Y, millennial generation. And then it turned into Orange Man Bad syndrome. So it was like anti-Trump, and you have to just bow down to the needs of the younger generation instead of telling them to come to work on time. I mean, literally, it got to the point where you can't reprimand them for coming to work late. I mean, it was getting ridiculous. I mean, our generation, go to work on time. Not just on time, you get there early.
Yeah.
No, we can't do that.
I mean, in the beginning with Harvard, when they say they're withdrawing the donations and whatnot, and then there's someone else, it's Ackman, saying that he's not going to hire any of the students who's on the list, and then that actually kind of helped Harvard to steer it to the kind of like the right direction. And I thought if more business, with doing that, with the situation right now, because but the whole situation in Colombia is totally blown out of proportion. It's almost like a little civil war is going on. I mean, I don't think even the business people, even the companies, want to have a say in any of this. They don't want to have like a mob of protesters coming at their door tomorrow morning, rush hour when everybody's going to work, and these mob of people come in to harass the companies, But I'm glad that they're taking a stance against those protesters because after all, it's a fucking company. You want to protest? Do it, after work or something, whatever, So I think this kind of American attitude when it comes to work, I'm glad it's still there. That it's not. It hasn't brought down the house.
Not yet, but
but ultimately that's what they wanted to do. I feel.
Well, like on Fox News, all right. You know Mike Rowe, right? Mike Rowe is the blue collar worker type guy talking about the skills gap in the United States.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to play you something that just happened on Fox News with Mike Rowe. This guy's famous for dirty jobs, trying to get people to realize that America is built on hard work. Okay, that's his whole shtick. All right, so and he's talking about the Ivy League. So let me play this here. Oh wait, hold on.
Appreciate everyone was going to turn into Mike Rowe, that we were all going to begin to appreciate the people who make this country work, the people who keep us safe, the people that keep us healthy in the hospitals. But what we can see, Mike, is that as soon as it interferes with the political agenda or some big donors like Big Pharma, they just throw those workers, to the curb like garbage, which, by the way, isn't getting picked up either.
No, and I think there's more to it than that. There's something in us. There's just it's the fault in our stars, where we begin to resent the very thing we rely upon. And in so many cases, you know, my career has been spent mostly trying to find the workers who are out of sight and therefore out of mind, and just tapping the country on the shoulder and saying, hey, what about him? What about her? Check these guys out. Tonight on the show, we profile airport workers, ironically. And yeah, to your point, I got here 5 minutes ago. My flight was delayed 2 hours. There were no flight attendants. That's a United flight, by the way. So this is happening all over the place. And there are a gajillion different ways to talk about it. But when I stay in my lane, typically what I say is, look, this whole problem, this disconnect, this skills gap, 11 million open jobs, this isn't a mystery. This is a reflection of what we value. And our country has become disconnected from the kinds of jobs that you're talking about right now. We're not properly gobsmacked when we turn on the switch and the lights come on, or when we flush the toilet and it all goes away. So it's no great mystery why our kids aren't eager to fill these positions. We take them for granted ourselves.
But is it we, or is it the people in charge, the elites, who don't appreciate it? I know I appreciate the people who come to pick up my garbage. I'm grateful when I turn the light switch on. I spoke to a truck driver on Fox and Friends, Mike, and he said, you know, it's not just all the regulations around this, but people tell the government and the woke social justice culture tells kids that, you know, my job is killing people. It's a you know, doesn't have that kind of, you know, it's a fossil fuel, you know, job. So there's all these factors coming in socially, but at the very end of the day, isn't it our leaders?
Look, I'm not going to defend it. I think they've been ignorant of a lot of unintended consequences that come along with a lot of policies in play right now.
Right.
But I also believe that a lot of parents today will say what you just said, but when it comes to their own kids, ooh, they'll step back a little bit, right? They're not quite so sure that there's a six-figure career in welding. Well, guess what? There is.
Yeah, no, you make a good point. Although trucking is paying a lot these days.
And they are struggling. They could hire 100,000 people, Rachel, right now.
You're right.
100,000.
You're right. Well, I'm looking forward to your show, especially since it...
So when these students, you know, are complaining that they can't get jobs, there's tons of jobs out there. It's just that they want to be sitting at a desk pontificating, you know, philosophy or gender inequality than actually working. See, you know, because I came from Detroit, I always had kind of like this mentality of automotive, hard work. It was tool and die. It was in manufacturing. It was creating a complex product, you know, and it had a lot of, you know, technology involved in it. You know, but people today, you know, what they want to be is sitting at a desk and just pontificating, telling other people what to do, and they're really not adding true value to the society. We got a lot of worthless, you know, eaters that are happening, you know, in this country. You know, and it's a lot of it is coming from a lot of these worthless eaters are really actually white collar workers that are not really adding value to the society. It's not the lower class, it's the upper class that is the problem. That is the problem in terms of not providing productivity gains in this country.
Oh, that's interesting. I never thought about it that way.
No, everyone keeps on looking down on the blue collar worker and thinking that they're the worthless eater, and the reality is that it's this 50% of the jobs that are in white collar that are wasteful and redundant.
Yeah. Wow. Well, but in terms of the gap, the skill set, you know, this is why they want TSMC to be here. You know, and also because American government knows that they don't have powerful chips. And in order to compete with China and the rest of the world, they have to have most powerful chip. Mm-hmm. That's why I invited TSMC, because they don't have anybody like TSMC in the fucking country. In our country right now, there are no skilled workers like the skilled workers that TSMC produce, because I'm going to tell you something. they were, the life of the TSMC worker is 24/7. You could get called in at any time, any moment. You do make $2 million a year. Yeah, you do make like at least $1 million or something with bonus, whatnot. But you do make a lot of money. But it takes a long time to train these people. They basically train them since college.
Well, I just think that the United States.
These people in college, when they take the course with that particular professor, they already know their projection of life is that ultimately they're going to get into these, NVIDIA or TSMC, these high-end, technology jobs, and the training since college, and there's a huge disconnect between the university, tech university and technology, American technology companies, because they just can't, the American universities are not producing good enough, workers for technology companies in America, that is why Google come out say, you don't even have to go to university. You just come, you can come to work for us after high school, and we'll train you. Because you know why? Because they can't catch up. It's not enough time. You have to wait for another 4 years to produce one single student who can work for Google when technology is rapidly advancing. Right now, the speed of technology that's happening in Taiwan right now is outpacing America. They just had an Indo-Pacific, like a military conference, because people don't give shit about what's going on in Asia, but what's really going on, the most important thing is going on right now it's actually not, it's Indo-Pacific with China, and Blinken is going to China, I believe today, to tell, Xi Jinping in his fucking face that don't ever touch Taiwan. Don't you ever that's a red line. If you ever touch Taiwan, game over. It's going to be full-blown, so everything is focused on Taiwan, Philippines, and Japan right now, because America's relying on these Asian, because we're actually producing real workers, hard workers, and also very smart, very skilled workers, and then that's why they want to have Samsung in Arizona, as well as TSMC and some other company. Do you know ASML?
ASML?
I told you about this company. You gotta look it up, man. So basically, they manufacture
ASML.
Yeah, you have no fucking clue.
Semiconductor industry. Okay.
They're a Dutch company, and they produce machines that have the TSMC. So TSMC will buy their machines, right, and then produce chips using their machines, and they're a Netherlands country.
So Reuters just had
to sell to China, because
right.
China want to get hands on these machines, but they can't get them. Right now, there's a huge espionage going on. Like they were trying to buy them from the black market or something. Like, okay, they sell it to another country, and then they want to buy from another country. There's a whole.
It's interesting you bring this up, because 3 hours ago, Reuters published an article.
Yeah.
And I'm just taking a little snippet out of it. It says they're restricting sales of SML in China. The U.S. is restricting it. And I'm just going to take this one little sentence here. The restrictions are part of Washington's campaign to slow Beijing's military advances and undermine its ability to manufacture its own chips.
Right. Yeah.
It's interesting you bring that up. And that was 3 hours ago.
This has actually been going on for a while now. And then with the passage, that they passed the aid package for Ukraine, Taiwan, and, interesting they include Taiwan, but Ukraine, Taiwan, and Israel, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, like as per the conditions, And one of the conditions is that, they're not going to allow China to get a whole. But you see the breadth of American politics. SML is not an American, company. They're a Dutch, they're a Netherlands company, very high tech. But guess what happened to SML? Actually, there's another really funny part of the story. SML also have the same problem because now the entire Europe is also very woke. I'm sure you know that, right? They're also very laid back. They used to be very hardworking people, but now with the wokeism and all that, they also kind of laid back. They just want to enjoy life, whatnot. So ASML, has a big problem of getting, suitable workers. And in Netherlands, half of their workers are imported. They have to import half of their workers. Can you believe that? I can't believe that's happening in Europe because I've always thought Europe is, not so clouded by all these social issues, But now because of climate change, they're very into climate change and some of the social issues as well. They don't pay attention to work. They don't pay attention to learn skills and to So you know what they did? ASML, who never ever have an overseas office, but because of shortage, because they couldn't get skilled workers, they're opening the first overseas office in Taiwan. Because the Netherlands government last week put out a law that says, you know what, you need to cap the amount of foreign workers that work for your company. It's like, oh my God, you're not helping me getting workers. They're basically suffocating them. So the only way they can think of is, you know what? Let's just open up another branch, in Taiwan because they do so well with TSMC. There are tons of very skilled workers and with the right price, a lot of very high skilled workers in Taiwan because it's not easy for them to get a visa to work outside. But so they actually, it's a bombshell. When they announced that announcement, it's a huge uproar last week. It's a huge uproar, and it's gonna put Taiwan even and so they were negotiating with China with the military and all that, right? Because I tell you, things between China and America right now with Blinken and Xi Jinping right now is at the worst point in the history right now, because they're at the point where they're at each other's throat and very confrontational. I mean, people worry about Israel, Palestine, and all that. In my mind, that is all small potatoes. Okay, the real big potato is China. And then Blinken is going over to China today and show them the list of everything that they did wrong. You support Hamas. You support Russia. We know you do this. All the laundry list is going to come out and smack in the face of Xi Jinping and tell you deserve all the sanctions, and we're going to further sanction you because of this, because you violate the terms. You understand what I mean? So, hello?
Yeah, no, I'm listening.
Yeah, so in the backdrop of all these fucking things that's going on right now, the real big world event is Blinken's trip to China. And they're gonna fucking tell China, you better stop it right there, because because what do you think? Who is supporting Hamas? Who the fuck is supporting Hamas? How do they get all this money? And then who the hell is supporting Russia? I mean, North Korea is, but so is China. Because they don't want America to win. So if you really want to go to the deep root, and also all the shit they're stirring up and all the social problems that they're stirring up, you tell me there's no the Chinese government, they don't have a finger in the protests and whatnot. Why do you see so many Chinese students in those protests? It's the weirdest thing, right? Like, usually Chinese students are very shy. They don't speak up. They don't. They. You know what I mean, right?
Mm-hmm.
They steer away from political situations because what happened in China, make them afraid.
When they were interviewing the Yale students that were doing the protesting the other day, there were two students that really stood out. One was an Asian female.
Really?
Maybe sophomore, all right?
Uh-huh.
And then there was this black guy, all right? Now, what was interesting with the black student was that he was conservative, and he thought the protesting at Yale was out of control. And then the female Asian was, saying the same tropes, it's an apartheid, it's genocide by the Israelis, and, Hamas is good, and blah, blah, blah. And then she's, spun that, these universities like Yale need to stop funding weapon manufacturers and, stop the genocide in Israel, stop the genocide that's going on in Gaza by the Israelis and blah, blah, blah. But what was interesting with the black guy, he was very articulate. And he basically said this, and I totally 100% agree with him. He said that that the country in the next couple of years are going to see people coming out of these Ivy League schools, and they're going to go into leadership positions either in academia or in business or in politics. And it is extremely important that the conservative movement shut them down, so they don't get power. So there is this battle between, what I'll call the ultra-liberal, this blue-haired ultra-liberal and conservatism. Now, I'm not sure who's going to win, 4, 5, 6 years down the road, but we're getting of an age now where after 5 years to 8 years from now, we're checking out. We're exiting the stage. We're no longer going to be the major power broker. Our generation is no longer going to be the major power broker. It's going to be, we have about probably about 8 year event horizon. So during this 8 years, it is really important to make sure that this new crop of students do not get power. And they have to be blackballed. If they don't get blackballed, we're going to actually see all the problems you're talking about with kind of like this new kind of communism starting to percolate in the United States come to fruition at a much higher level with a higher fidelity.
And I think China is behind this because China is very good at to corrupt you internally. That's why the Kuomintang lost, because they know how to they know how to crumble you from inside.
Mm-hmm.
And this is exactly a very common strategy. Now that you're saying, it's true. These students are going to be, some of the students are graduating. They already, the next 4 to 8 years is going to be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
If American society, if American, politics is going to be able to withstand this, we need more people
we need more conservatives. We need people that are more down to earth, know how to build stuff, know how to design stuff, know how to actually create stuff that doesn't have a chip on their shoulder, and that that is about God, country, and family. Instead of these woke policies where it's destroying the family, destroying country, and destroying religion.
Right.
You know, and as Gen X becomes approaches age 60, you know, Gen X is going to start losing power. So it's really important to make sure that this next generation does not, that holds to DEI and holds to these socialistic policies, they don't take hold. Or we're going to lose our country.
You know the thing is, I don't mind the elite in control if they're doing the right thing for America, and not just, you know, in America there's so much corruption. You know, just take New York City for example. I mean, you look around, you're like, if New York City is not the baby of corruption, that's what corruption looks like in New York City right now. And that is because of DEI. Because we wanted, all of a sudden we feel like, oh, we need a black mayor because, you know, we need a black one.
I find it odd that you had a very strong conservative individual, Giuliani, who fixes New York. Then you had someone like Mayor Bloomberg, the multi-billionaire, you know, private company. He's a billionaire not going to the stock market. That's pretty amazing what he did. All right, so if he went and actually probably publicly traded Bloomberg, he'd probably be the richest person on the planet. But for whatever reason, he decided to keep it as a limited partnership. So, you know, but he's a multi-billionaire. He's a multi-billionaire, you know, and he had 1 foot with the Democrats and 1 foot with the Republicans, even though he ran as a Republican. All right, and it was near the end of his third term where the city started to go down. Then you bring in De Blasio, Democrat. Married a black woman. So, you know, and he was all about the black constituency. And the city started going to hell. The city started going to hell right then there. Yeah. And then you transition to a black mayor, and the city's going to hell even more. So, and literally, we're seeing the unraveling of what Giuliani did.
You're like saying in the beginning, like, oh, I think he might be okay. He's the police, and I was like, no.
Well, I thought he would be. You know what he was saying during the election. Yeah, but you know, but the thing is, what he was saying during the election, and that he did have some street cred in terms of his work experience. It wasn't out of the realm to conclude that he would be good for the city. Unfortunately, he's not good for the city, and he's captured by a bunch of people that are DEI.
Yeah.
And so the city's going straight to hell, on top of, you know, the lawfare that's going against Trump. I mean, New York is the major hub for that.
Yeah, and he still has control over education. You know, used to be education has a separate head of education, but now the mayor, the government hocho is giving the mayor, you know, continue to give him the sole control of education, you know, in New York City.
Well, that might be a good thing. That might be a good thing because it might get worse.
That's sad because he, of course, he believes in DEI and want to help, you know, students look. Why helping students who are dumb and not going to go anywhere? They should really put more money into the students who, you know, who is going to excel. You understand what I mean? Excel in
well, I think this is the way. This is the way to.
There's a lot of corruption in education.
I would phrase it. Yeah, I agree with you on that. No. I would rephrase it. The problem with public education is that they teach to the most common denominator, the lowest common denominator.
Yeah.
So they are teaching to the student in the room, and they're the lowest intelligence level.
Yeah.
All right, not the highest intelligence level or even the average intelligence level. And there's the problem. So you have a lot of students that are smarter, and they get bored, and they're not being cultivated like they should be. So that's why they have the Stuyvesant, academies and blah, blah, blah out there. Because the average public school in New York sucks. Because they're teaching to the lowest common denominator.
Right.
And they shouldn't.
Right.
They shouldn't. They shouldn't dumb down the education. They should put the ones that are not as smart in like tutor type sessions to get them up to speed. They need to raise the bar, not lower the bar.
Right. Yeah, but now with all the walkism and everything, it's impossible to tell them what to do and teach them what to do. And with the students having more power than the teachers, it's just like communism. It's just that the opening scene. It's a smaller scale of the opening scene where teachers can't tell students what to do. They can't discipline them. They cannot lecture them. They can't tell them what to do. They can't tell them anything about life. Who's really in trouble? The English teachers and the history teachers, because a lot of those times it's subjective. And if the students say, "Oh, why you mark me this wrong? Why you say I didn't write?" Then it's very hard to grade. If it's math and science, it's easier because you do have a right answer. But when it comes to these, humanity courses, it becomes very difficult to teach these youngsters, and they teach them critical race theory, like black people, this and that. I mean, I have to say, with all the Me Too movement, and whatever that's going on right now, I do see a lot more black people on TV, and I think that is a good thing. But then they also should have the responsibility of bringing up the next generation of hardworking, with American value.
Well, the thing is that people are coming to the realization, if you're really going to be honest, that not everyone within a particular ethnic group is going to be able to be
helping.
The highest level, they have the highest level of intelligence, or be the best leaders of the society, either in science or in politics or in philosophy. There is such a thing as innate intelligence.
Yeah, I know. But what I'm saying is now that a lot of black people are in important positions, they should help their own people, clean up your backyard.
Well, I agree with that.
But they're not doing that.
Well, right. With all the money that the rappers are making, all the money the rappers are making, and all the basketball players, there are more black billionaires now than ever before in human history. And I don't see them really, spending too much of their money and actually helping their own constituents.
They have become elite, and they enjoy that status, and they don't want to do the hard work. They're not really helping their own people. And then these people kept saying racism, just like Meghan Markle kept saying racism, playing the race card, using that to try to advance themselves when they're not worth it, and then those who are worth it might have to, it's just, take Claudine Gay. I'm sure there are maybe at least 20 people has more merit than her to hold the position as the president, because she doesn't really have the resume for that. But because of all the situations, she's lucky enough to be chosen and put into this position, but then when she helps other black students or other, people of her own color, it's not the same. And then she's not teaching them the right way. She's teaching them how to corrupt the system, to leverage the system. So instead of teaching them the right way to hardworking academia, she is a perfect example of how how doing a shortcut. She is the shortcut. She is the product, the shortcut, and she's not worth it. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. That they're just picking whoever they want to pick, instead of the ones that are worthy. And even those people who are coming on to the stage, it's not really telling them the right way to do things. It's just shortcut, and that is very sad. I don't know. It's very sad for. I mean, shortcuts has always been part of the society, whether it's family, whether it's affirmative action, whatnot, But still, they're based on how worthy you are. You still have to have the backbone for it, right? But now it's like Claudine Gay is the perfect example of corruption and shortcut, And she brought no value to her black community, because you know why? These people don't last for a long time. The shelf life is so short. She had a very short shelf life, and it's not helping her people. Just because she got on the position, but then she's gonna get knocked down because some shit happened and she can't handle it. She doesn't know how to handle it, and then she got shut down, and it's just the whole thing is just fucked up, And it's all in the name of DEI. I don't. It's really sad,
Well, it is sad. It is sad. But I do think I think you're right that there's not enough reinvestment in their own community. P. Diddy prefers investing his money in some sort of liquor company than actually investing in investing in these inner cities. P. Diddy.
Who?
P. Diddy. He's a rapper.
Oh, Puff Daddy. Oh, the guy who. Oh, okay.
Well, he used to be Puff Daddy, and then he turned into P. Diddy, and
Oh, I was gonna ask you.
Yeah.
Do you think Taylor Swift is narcissistic?
You know what's interesting? You know what's interesting with Taylor Swift, all right? I think that she probably had to do some sort of sexual favors within the music industry to be able to get as big as she's getting.
Wow.
And I think that she's now, she's kind of compromised somehow, some way. And
Wow.
I think that over time, there's going to be some sort of self-destruction. I think that probably about 5 years ago, she was all right, and that, she could be just normal. But I think now she's gone into the dark side. And I feel like she's part of this dark side Hollywood and the music industry cabal kind of thing. But there is an element of narcissism. I mean, that's part of it.
Like, she can't write a song about something else. Like, everything has to be about her, like her and her breakup, her man, whatever. Like, I hate. She's not a real musician, she may be one, but she.
Well, she can sing is she like a Whitney Houston type singer? No. Was she kind of a Stevie Nicks kind of singer? No. There are many other female singers that are way better and have larger range than she does. But she does have that country and pop, and a little bit of rock kind of genre that she can play in. I think she's a better singer and better performer than Madonna. even during when Madonna was in her zenith. And so
you were saying?
yeah, I was just saying that
Because you know more about American music than
I
do.
think that she has a lot of range in different genres, but I think her singing range is less than Aretha Franklin or Whitney Houston or Stevie Nicks. So
Yeah,
I just but she does tap into that younger female crowd really well. So she's a mirror of her audience in a way. So when you say that she's narcissistic, yes, but she's also representing her audience. Her audience is narcissistic. I mean, we're talking about the selfie generation. Right. So
right.
so she's capturing that in the art that she creates. But I think that she's just part of this kind of dark cabal now. I mean, and I don't know if she's just is she flaunting it?
I've always the entire world always consider American music like the best music of the world, And if you look at the history of just the recent history of American music, the 80s, the 70s, the 80s, you have the Michael Jackson, you have Whitney Houston, and then you have Celine Dion and some other, and then you have many others, and it's like they write songs, or Dolly Parton. They write songs for not just about themselves. They're more like writing songs for creativity, for
there's different types of different types of
and then there's the rock and the grunge, the period of the 80s and 90s and the 2000s and until now. And the songs they sing, like the alternative rock, it's more about life,
Well, I mean,
It's
there's
more meaningful.
Success is measured two ways in music. One is commercial success or artistic success.
Yeah.
And I would not say that Taylor Swift falls into the realm of experimental artistic success. I think she is a manifestation of the generation that listens to her. The majority of her audience, which are young females.
Right.
And it's the selfie generation.
It's the woke generation as well.
Right. Now, if you listen to her speak,
that's scary.
If you listen to her speak, she's an absolute freaking idiot. She's stupid. She's a stupid person.
I would be surprised.
She's a stupid person. But she knows how to play piano. She knows how to play guitar. She knows how to sing.
I mean, she's one of those.
She's musically talented. She's extremely successful commercially. But I wouldn't say that she is groundbreaking like the Beatles were groundbreaking, or or Pink Floyd was groundbreaking, or anything like that.
I mean, it's just kind of like hit me like.
I think she represents the that selfie generation.
Yeah.
No, but I like her. I like her songs and stuff. But I would say that her country side, her early work, is probably the best. Right when she started getting into this.
I understand people like her songs. But
I think that
to analyze it even further.
Her album Reputation, I think, was that kind of the beginning of her getting too far into the Hollywood music scene cabal kind of stuff.
Okay.
But
right.
I would say she just released a new album. I really have zero interest in even listening to the album at this moment in time.
Really?
Yeah.
I was
No,
gonna
and
ask
I
you,
have a
like,
lot of her
what do you
albums.
think about it?
No, I have a lot of her albums, but I have just, right now I just think that she's just too commercial and just too bloated with her ego. And I have no desire. So I suspect that she probably has one more album after this new album, and then she's going to be on a decline.
Yeah, I mean.
But I mean, she's so successful now that it really won't matter. I mean, she's.
Yeah, she's the young girls and whatnot, and
because these young girls are going to start. These young girls are going to start becoming 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, right? And they're going to be in college, and they're not going to. They're going to be looked down upon. Oh, you're listening to Taylor Swift. While some new band comes out that's like, I don't know, Nirvana or like the Smashing Pumpkins, a little bit more grunge, a little bit more harsh, it's going to come back to haunt her. So I would say that she has about one more album. And this may be the reason why she kind of went towards this kind of darker side. Because they're thinking that, because who else did this? Pink went, on the dark side. Katy Perry went on the dark side. Even Madonna, even though she's a has-been, went on the dark side. Beyonce.
Beyonce is crap. It's a lot of crap. I don't know why people listen to her.
Yeah, there's a lot of crap
at
out
all.
there. Yeah, there's a lot of crap out there. But I think that Taylor Swift is better than Beyonce.
Yeah, I just feel like.
Plus, I just think that I think Taylor Swift is just a more of a musician.
I think she's catering into, like you said, this young crowd, the woke crowd, and she's trying to make as much money out of them before something. Do you think there's going to be another depression, coming in soon?
I think if you measure it based on, where the S&P 500 is, I wouldn't even, I don't think that there's going to be a major recession.
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be a major recession until the S&P 500 breaks like 6,500. So we got a ways to go. It's trading at about 5,000 something, 5,100. Goes up and down. But I don't think that there's going to be a major. Good. I don't think there's going to be.
Still good.
Yeah. But the thing is that there's probably going to be a big hit when the baby boomers are going to start to unload their homes, and then there's going to be more supply on the market, and there's going to be suppressed housing prices, and then people are going to start to freak out. And that may, be a cause of concern, and then that may be the impetus for a recession. But that's, a ways away. That's a ways away before they start unloading their property.
Well, I heard another article saying that actually the baby boomers don't want to sell their houses now. Because whatever they have to replace with is going to be so much more expensive.
Right.
And they have no power to get mortgages, so actually they don't want
so
to
they'll
sell.
They'll probably hold on to their property for at least another 2.5 to 5 years.
Yeah.
So, it just depends on where they are on the spectrum of age within the baby boomers and when they start needing to cash out and start moving into a nursing home. So my father.
How's your father?
Well, my father is, he's just not there mentally. He's his heart's fine, his kidney's fine. Because he's not moving around as much and he's getting older, there's kidney function is slightly less than baseline. His heart's fine, but just, mentally, he's just not there.
Oh, okay.
But,
is he declining? Do you think he's declining, or is he just
I think he's stable. I think he's stabilized and that he is running at par with the problem that he has. relative to his age. He can't talk. He can't talk.
Huh?
He can't talk.
Conversation?
No, he can't talk.
He can't talk. He still can't talk.
No.
Wow.
And
But
it seems
do you
as
think
though
he's thinking? Can he write?
no, he can't write either. So
Oh,
he's
wow.
lost his writing, his talking.
Wow.
His concentration level is like a little kid, like an infant kind of concentration level. Maybe a 1-year-old.
Uh-huh.
Wow. And but he does seem to be hearing. It seems like as though he can hear. And
Okay.
so but the
Does
sad
he
thing is
recognize
that
you?
there's nothing
Recognize you,
that
right?
there's nothing that we can do to fix it. There's no.
But he can recognize you.
His eyesight is not as good.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what he's seeing. I think he recognizes certain things with hearing. He doesn't wear glasses anymore.
Okay.
So I'm not
What
sure.
does that mean? He doesn't wear glasses anymore.
Well, I mean, he used to wear glasses all the time, but he just doesn't. They don't have glasses on him in the nursing home, and he doesn't read. He can't read anymore.
Oh.
So I mean,
okay,
it just
okay.
so I don't know where his eyesight is. The sad thing is that when someone is in a nursing home, and it's not like the Taj Mahal high-end nursing home, the level of care isn't that, isn't the top of the line care. And it's just we can't give him the top of the line care because you're talking about $10,000 to $12,000 a month.
Right.
You can't do that. So I just.
Well, if it's not so difficult to take care of, then maybe your brother want to take him in and save money, because it's expensive, right?
Well, he didn't want to do that.
Oh, okay.
He didn't want to do that. But the thing is that it's already said.
difficult.
It's already been.
difficult.
All the assets were transferred over to the nursing home, and he's
Wow.
He's in the system now. And
So you can transfer him out, and
I don't know how that would work, honestly. I have
Wow.
no idea how that would work. But the thing is that he'll die in the nursing home. And he could go on living for another five years like this.
yeah. I mean, he how old is he?
80.
80? Yeah, probably another 5. Yeah, because nowadays the care is pretty good.
Right.
But
I mean, they've stabilized him, and he's not
Yeah.
getting worse, and now it's just the aging process on the body is starting to kick in.
yeah, but I was wondering yesterday actually, why all these protests on the Ivy League level? I don't hear any protests from like City University.
Well, think
or
about
Queen's
it.
College,
They want what if it's a CCP kind of
So
takeover.
are they being
They
targeted?
want it.
Or,
They're targeting the elite schools to get the people that are coming out of these elite schools to be leaders that will have socialistic policies.
Okay. So coming back to that. Okay.
Yeah. It's so in politics and business and in academia, they want these people. They're seeding socialism for the for something to sprout up in 5 years.
So do you think the companies are going to do something like Harvard, like Ackman?
I hired when I was at Catholic Charities from my department. I hired a lot of interns that came from Columbia. A lot.
Okay.
All right, because they had they were coming out of a financial engineering discipline.
Yeah.
All right? And they were smart. I would never, ever, ever, if I was hiring people, I would never hire out of Columbia ever again.
What?
No matter who they are. I would never hire them.
You mean now? Yeah. Okay.
I would not, I would just not
But you
do
see,
it.
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That the fact
But I'm
that,
not, but the thing is that
No, listen to me. The fact of the matter is that a a lot of protests are not part of the Columbia University students. And then I feel like a lot of them were hijacked into the protests or being pressured into the protests. You know, it's like a mystery.
Yeah, but you know, the thing is there is such a thing as guilt by association now.
Oh, okay.
You know, and I just think that the university did a
Yeah.
really bad
The
job
image.
in managing this situation. There's no reason why they should continue these protests on campus. They should just abolish it.
How come they're not calling for her to step down? That's my other big question. How come they're not calling for her, you know, this Shafit, you know, Miss Shafit to step down?
Well, I think
I think
some alumni are telling her to step down.
And why is there so many pro-Palestinian professors at Columbia? Because from what I heard,
Because it's easier to demonize Jews than it is to demonize actually the Palestinians. They allowed Hamas to dig in for 15 years in the society and underneath key buildings like hospitals and government buildings, where if Israel needed to root them out, they had to blow up something that's going to cause a lot of collateral damage. So, you know, but it's always easy to demonize Israel for the collateral damage that they cause, but these professors aren't really getting to the root cause. The root cause is that Hamas dug in underneath the hospitals. Not that Israel's blowing up hospitals. If Hamas wasn't there, Israel wouldn't be blowing up the hospital.
Yeah, I mean, but they're supporting.
Because most of these professors,
they're supporting, but there was this one professor. They were saying that he has been, you know, critical of Israel. He has been anti-Semitic for a long time, and he's still being taught on campus, you know. And then she said, no, he's not teaching anymore, you know, after the semester is over. Never ever again, you know.
I don't know.
And I'm just wondering how many of those professors are out there who is, you know, who I don't know, who is.
I think the majority of the professors out there are socialistic, and I think, or ultra socialistic, and that the majority of them are anti-Israeli, anti-Zionist, pro-Palestinian. Now, you know,
is it because the Jewish professors are doing better and that they're jealous or something? That's why they don't like them.
Well, I don't think there's that many Jewish professors on these campuses.
Or there's something that's hateful about.
Yeah, but because
do you self-reflect? I'm just gonna ask you outright. Do you self-reflect?
Do I self-reflect? Self-reflect on what?
I mean, you guys are not perfect, right? Jewish, you know, you guys are not perfect, right? You know, do you guys ever do self-reflections like?
Well,
you know,
you're supposed to self-reflect every day when you do the morning prayers, and then if someone doesn't do morning prayer, and even if there isn't someone doing morning prayers during the holiday season, it's all about self-reflection.
I mean, because you know,
Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur is about self-reflection and how to improve. But the thing is that how to improve at a societal level and how to improve at a individual level and become, you know, more spiritual and be a better person doesn't mean that you have to give in to your principles. And from a Jewish perspective, the land of Israel has been written down for over 3,000 years on what the Jews are going to do. And the Palestinians the Palestinians don't like what's written in the Torah. And that is that their land, the land that they occupy is Israeli land.
But do you ever self-reflect on I'm not talking about history, but do you guys ever self-reflect on why even Chinese people don't like Jewish people?
Well, I think that people that don't like other people, it's probably because either something really negative happened to them and they're throwing everybody within a certain category to be the same way, or they're ignorant and they're just being, negative to a certain group for really no reason. Like, not all black people are bad, but if you were robbed by a black person, you would start feeling negative about black people, right? And something may have happened to them in their life where something negative happened to them by some Jewish person, and they're putting all Jewish people in the same category. There's those types, and there's another type that they feel as though people that are successful should be demonized because they're the cause of their lack of success. So they want to demonize anybody.
But
if Jews weren't successful, they would find someone else to demonize.
But Jewish people also are very, they're, like we said, why is, black people don't help themselves? Of course, Jewish people help themselves. They're very, you guys are very, solid group together. But that is also why, some people feel like, you're giving the goodies to your own people. You're not sharing enough, as well as, you're not sharing enough, and as well as the fact that, you treat non-Jewish people, worse than your own people. And this is not just my opinion. This is a collective opinion that I've been hearing. Ever since I come to America. So I mean, the way how the Jewish people organize like your social relationship with other Jewish people and non-Jewish people, is a point of reflection. I don't know.
I think it's a combination. I think it's a combination.
Jewish communities, that's how they treat non-Jewish people, and that is very frustrating. Because I think that I live in a Jewish community, and I definitely feel that they're not nice to me. It's very obvious.
Well, I
wouldn't call them racist or discrimination. They just don't see anyone else besides themselves, which I understand, they went through atrocities and whatnot, but on the hindsight, on the flip side, it's they're also not very nice to other people like the Chinese or maybe business-wise they can talk or whatnot, but if they treat their workers, like Chinese workers, or because there are a lot of Jewish companies in New York, and that is a collective experience that I hear,
Well, I think that even within the Jewish community, there are Jews that are against other Jews for various reasons, either because they're not religious enough, or they're too religious, or they're too, cutthroat in business. So there are Jews against Jews. But then there is also the relationship between Jews and the outside community that's outside the Jewish community. And there are Jews. Let me finish. So you have Jews that are looking that many Jews, especially in New York, weren't born in New York. They weren't even born in the country. They were born outside the country and they immigrated. So they already have this kind of outsider mentality because they feel that they're an outsider. So it's a defense mechanism for those types of immigrated Jews from different countries that moved to New York. All right. Then you have another group that would say, okay, the Jewish community is, the Jewish community proper is only about 23, 25 million. All right. With various religious affinity versus 1 billion, over 1 billion, it's like 1.3 billion Christians and 1.6 billion Muslims, and you see what I'm saying? So the number of Jews relative to any other major religion is so small that inherently makes
1.6 billion you mean United States or the world?
No, worldwide.
Okay.
So the
yeah,
population of the Jew relative to any other major religion is so small that there is an inherent worry of one group against another group.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big dynamic. And then every time there is social unrest or some sort of economic hardship, who gets blamed? The immigrant and the Jew. Right? So economic, these economic cycles, Jews have always been walking on eggshells, worrying about the next worry.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, basically you're saying that Jewish people have this, fight or flee mentality.
Right.
Right. That they might always be in some sort of situation.
I think the average Jew. I think the average Jew, when you deep down inside, has an inherent psychology that they have to be weary of the environment that they're in. Now, for Jews that have assimilated, it's less of a worry. The more religious they are, the more of the worry that they have.
Yeah, that's why I guess the general impression is that they care more about themselves or something.
I don't think it's that. I think it's self-preservation against a sea of non-Jews. Billions and billions of non-Jews versus 25 million Jews.
Yeah, but if you don't think of it in terms of that way, if you think of it outside of religion, if you don't get controlled by your religion, if you think of yourself like me, you're just a New Yorker, you're just an American. Wouldn't that unbound you from the fear of being destroyed or preservation?
Well, I think Jews have been told through their religious studies, going all the way back to before their bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah, that every society that Jews have been in, you may be prosperous in that society, but eventually the society will come back to get at you. They will every society. I mean, what built up Germany? It was Jews. It was Jewish philosophers and Jewish scientists. Every society that is ever, literally every society other than maybe China, all right, and in the Asian Rim, right? But Western society and in Muslim society and in the Middle East, every society flourished when there was freedom for Jews. The moment that they went against the Jews, that's the decline of their empire. It happened in Spain and it happened in Germany, and we may be actually seeing the beginnings of the fall of the United States. So throughout all of Jewish history, through the diaspora, there's been this rise and fall of societies that are correlated to accepting Jews or not accepting Jews. And so the Jewish people know that it may be 100 years of prosperity in a society, then all of a sudden it flips. And then the prosperity isn't there because the majority of the society isn't Jewish, and they'll go after them. Because they're considered, and you're seeing this.
Why are they being hated? It's also large numbers because they only care about themselves and they don't seem to have, they don't really seem to care about other.
I think it's 3,000 years. Honestly,
and that's why some people don't like what they're seeing. I mean, you're saying like accept the Jews or don't accept the Jews, but what about the Jewish people? Do they accept the Chinese? Not really, no, because of the control of the religion make them have to confine to their own religious people.
Well, the reality of the situation is that if they're not Jewish, right, they're not following the laws of the Torah. So there's that lack of commonality. Is there commonality as us being human beings? Yes. Is there commonality as of Jews and other nationalities or ethnicities within a country, as citizens? Yes, there's that commonality. But there is going to be a definitive line between a non-Jew and a Jew. Now, if someone wants to be Jewish, they can be Jewish, independent of their ethnicity. But they would have to go through the proper conversion or the birthright.
Well, I mean, I know what you mean. I know you.
So there is, you can't mix oil and water. You can't mix oil and water.
What I'm saying is, the Jewish people don't necessarily accept, people outside of their own circle, and
well, it depends on the level of acceptance. It depends on what you mean by.
Sometimes they're even nasty.
It depends on the level of acceptance.
Who are less fortunate than them, I mean, that's why I've been here. I mean, I understand the whole thing about the self-preservator. But I don't know. I'm just saying that
Let me give you a hypothetical situation, all right? You're in absolute need and you need someone to help you, all right? And you could only ask a synagogue or a mosque for help, all right? For whatever the reason, whatever you need for help. But those are your only choices. Someone that's from Islam or someone that's from Jewish faith. Which one are you going to pick?
Islam.
Are you serious?
Are you serious? Are you serious? My Turkish friend is she's Muslim, and I tell you, she's the most wonderful person I have ever met. She's so nice to me.
Well, I guess the Jewish people need to do a reach out.
My own experience with the Jewish people in New York are far, far less. They're more selfish. They're more, just like you said, more quote-unquote perseverance and whatnot. But I know I can count on her. If I certainly don't represent her, and she also don't condone that. But your religion, the Jewish religion, is very protective of yourself. You help another Jewish person, but I don't know. I'm not confident that Jewish people are willing to help non-Jewish people. But I've seen a lot more Muslim, but maybe because they suffer a lot more than Jewish people. The Muslims, a lot of them are very, very poor. Like my friend from Turkey, she's from a poor family, and she has a lot of empathy, and she's not so religious as well, and she's more Americanized, and she always make donations, and she would take her daughter to volunteer and do work and whatnot. She doesn't wear a burqa or anything. She never preach me. Like, you're telling me a lot about like Jewish religion, Jewish faith, and what you guys do and what you guys think and all that. That's nice, but like for her, she never tried to like propaganda her religion, and actually most Muslims are kind of like that. She is a very nice woman. And her whole family are very nice. Like, even her mom is very nice to me. Her mom would send presents to me from Turkey, because she knows that I'm good friends with my friend, I'm not trying to compare or anything. I just think it's like different culture deal with other people kind of like differently, I mean, I am afraid of Jewish. Like, I live among Jewish people in my community. There's a synagogue right behind my bedroom, like directly behind my bedroom, you know. And every time I see them on the street, it's never, I don't feel kindness or friendliness from them. From them at all.
Well, I think that I think these people that you're describing are not really following Judaism to its full-heartedness. You're supposed to be outreaching to the overall community that's even not Jewish, but people sometimes will be insular and they will only gravitate to like people. I mean, I see it even in shul. I see that the Israelis will gravitate to the Israelis and not to the American Jews.
Oh.
So it's not. So what you're seeing is just natural human behavior. You'll gravitate to someone that's Taiwanese before you gravitate to someone that is Chinese.